So we have 12 volts connected up to yellow. We have 0 volts hooked up to black. That's on the little battery here, right there. That goes in through this connector. This connector is the one for the throttle. I have all the leads stripped. I'm just sitting out there. And the settings on the controller. We have 0 for software selected on the throttle sensor. We have, that one's really hard to tell. Well, those are the resistors, great. And dip switches, we have both on for coil suppression. And that's about it. So the software selected is problematic because I don't know what the software thinks the throttle is. I'm just going to go through all the wires and check for voltage and see if there's 5 volts coming out on a wire, because that's what the Hall effect sensor is expecting. The blink code on the controller basically says I don't have a throttle connected properly, and it is correct, it does not. I can't find a wiring diagram for the net gain. For some reason, all of their cables are pre-done and they don't have a wiring diagram listed, so I guess I'm going to have to figure it out myself. So right now we're trying to hook up the throttle. On some documents online, the net gain pinout is in a document called 82119 installation guide. So I got a hold of that, and I matched up with the pinout for the Honda Accelerator, and I hooked up what I thought was going to be the way it should be. I'm on a debug screen on the net gain controller, status display, warp drive interface module, and right now it's showing me not very much is changing when I'm moving the accelerator, which isn't good news. So in order to get to here, I guess let's start again. You start with no power on the module. You add power. Goes through its boot up sequence, and then when it starts blinking its code that says the accelerator is not connected properly, you hook up the ignition on switch, and then we scroll down to our signal. So every time I do this, I seem to get a slightly different voltage on throttle B. Throttle A is always 1.87 volts, flipping to 1.88 volts. But there's something wrong here. I'm not sure what exactly it is. So I'm going to have to take these pins and put them on terminals, check the voltages. Checking the voltages while they're in the air. There's connections between these wires and the alligators and these wires in there. There's too many things that can go wrong, that can get jiggled, whatever. So I'm going to disconnect the accelerator and then just go with the alligators first. And if I don't get satisfaction there, I should be seeing 4.8 volts coming out versus ground. And if that's not the case, then I'll go back and check the connections on on these wires. And then if that doesn't work, then I have to go into the connector. Anyway, standard troubleshooting stuff. Does it work here? Does it work here? And try and divide and conquer. I guess I should show you instead of describing it. So when we power the system up, we get a few blinking codes. Turn the ignition on, and it basically tells us the accelerator is not connected right. So we are tapped into the signal for channel 2, which gives us 2.05 volts on the screen, 2.00 on the multimeter, and then we hit the accelerator, and it doesn't change at all. So it looks suspiciously like the Hall effect sensor isn't connected to the pedal, which is rather odd. So I'm going to pop it apart because this is a purchase from the wrecker, and see if there is anything obvious that broke off or whatever. But I definitely don't have a signal. The controller is absolutely correct to blink codes at me because the accelerator does not appear to give a signal to anything. So the Honda anti-tampering screws are a 5-sided star. They're not a Torx, they're not a Roberts, they're not a anything else. They've got 5 sides and they look like a star. So nothing I have will fit. So the screw extractors, remove them. Make kind of mess of them. In any case, the simple mechanism is pretty robust. This is the sensor. The wiring is just going to the sensors, Hall effect sensors, and then this side, the spring action is very strong, and it just takes these 2 magnets and rotates them around that sensor, which is held in place. So there is no linkage to go wrong. These Hall effect sensors have to be bad, or the connector has to be bad. Those are our 2 choices. So I'm going to put it back together and see if the act of taking it apart and putting it back together again makes it work, which, don't laugh too hard, it actually does work sometimes. Getting all this stuff lined up might not be so easy to do. But well, we'll work on it. Anyway, that's it for now. If the accelerator won't work, I've got to get another accelerator, which is going to delay things just a little bit. Well, the bad news is I put it back together. Of course, the screws aren't nearly as tight as they should be, but they're tight enough to keep things together. And there is no response from the Hall effect sensors at all. So the sensors just don't work. I guess I need a new throttle. Wonderful. Anyway, I should do a little bit of a write-up on how exactly to test out a Honda throttle, since I now know how. So I have another pedal. I thought it was a micro switch, which checks out in here. That little click that you hear is the micro switch, and that closes and opens here. And then this, the black, the red, and the green appear to be black for negative, red for positive, and green for signal. However, that's not what comes out. So when you disconnect everything and you just do a resistance check, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's like it's not a resistance. So I hooked it up like I would hook up a Hall effect sensor, and that doesn't appear to work either. So 2 broken pedals out of 2 is suspicious. I suspect I'm doing something wrong, I just don't know what it is. I have 1 more pedal, which I'm going to try. We have had a bit of success. The third and last of my throttles is a 0 to 5K. 5 volt is red, black is ground, brown is signal. Labeled silkscreen right up in front of the throttle, so I'm pretty sure that's actually what it is. You connect that to 1 channel on the controller, and you see what you expect to see when you press the throttle. I had to add a resistor in series so that the voltage on the 2 channels was different, but that's fine. Went through the calibration procedure. First 3 times it didn't work. It turns out I was rushing it a little bit, and the controller wants to be powered up in calibration mode before you turn the ignition signal on. So after I figured that out, calibration went like it was supposed to, and there we have a signal. Now it's giving me a blink code in mode 6 that looks like I don't have the high voltage connected, which of course I don't. But I cleared the first error code and I'm on to the next.